Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
Arsenal, aka Southern Fury, as it was known at the time of shooting, but the name was changed to cash in on the SEO value of an English soccer team, I guess, because God knows Arsenal makes no sense as a name for this thing. Starts on the muddy banks of God, why am I blanking on the name? Biloxi, god damn it, sorry. Starts on the muddy banks of Biloxi, Mississippi, where Cameron Poe just arrived on a fishing boat to shoo luring perverts away from his pregnant wife. Wait, no, that was something else. We see Ariana Grande, no, sorry. Adrian Grenier, aka JP, in this sickly yellow tinted glow of the Mississippi sun, cocking a pistol out in the open for some reason, while being blinded by lens flares to the sound of a harmonica blaring on the soundtrack. In a voiceover, we hear him say, "Someone once asked me why I stick up for Mikey. They clearly don't have a brother." Okay. That's when I knew this movie was going to be hot dog shit. Yeah. And I regretted the fact that I ever started this podcast with you guys. He says this while smirking to himself, thinking of the spoilers. Half a dozen people he and his brother are about to murder with zero ramifications whatsoever. But we'll get to that later in the film. As the harmonica continues to blare, we cut to a guy breakdancing on the floor while an iguana crawls nearby Nicolas Cage, who says, "Shoot him again! His soul's still dancing." Oh, wait, no, that was something else. Something way better than this fucking film. We see a young JP walking with his brother Mikey and some other doofus. Mikey gives the doofus like $10 in quarters, promising he'll beat this kid at any game in the arcade while giving his little brother nothing. When JP asks for some quarters, Mikey smacks him in the head and tells him not to cry like a little bitch. Oh, I wonder why these guys love each other so much.
Apparently, at some point, that kid with the long hair, the fat kid, was Sal, so John Cusack's character.
Wait, what? Okay. That's supposed to be Cusack?
And I'm like, Cusack is way older than these guys, so that doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Did that kid have like blonde hair too?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got dirty blonde hair.
Cusack's got like jet black hair in this.
Yeah.
Okay. But then Jonathan Schaech, he said that he thought it was the guy with the cornrows.
Yeah. Oh, that
makes more sense.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, because that guy's the same age. They've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
But he also says that we've known each other for 16 years, specifically. But it's been 23 years since this scene. So
they didn't even bother to fact check themselves. So,
I mean, honestly, at a certain point, this movie just completely falls apart, and they're just like making shit up as they go. It has nothing to do with things that happened previously.
Yep, I totally forgot this kid even existed.
Yeah, me too.
Because it doesn't matter for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he doesn't matter at all. I don't even know why they were like trying to like rationalize who this person was.
Who fucking knows?
Well, it's not like they could reshoot the scene, so.
Exactly. Yeah.
True.
They said they had these kids for one day, too, so. All these scenes were shot in one day.
Mikey and his friend play games while JP watches, but Mikey eventually uses his game tickets to buy his little brother some baseball cards. I'm guessing he uses this same beat him up and then show him you care by buying something trick on the ladies.
Like Chris Brown.
Allegedly. Unfortunately for you and us, this is the guy we're supposed to be rooting for in this movie. This guy, not Chris Brown. We don't root for Chris Brown anymore. I mean, he can dance. He's a good dancer.
You can tell he's good in bed because he's really good.
Oh, god damn it. That's for us. That's just for us. Back home, we see that the brothers live with a fat guy wearing coveralls and a wife beater. The shirt, not that he's a wife beater. But probably, I mean, he probably
But
is.
probably, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly.
Southern Fury.
Got that name somehow.
Yeah. Which is standard issue clothing for the South, and an old lady who might be Leatherface in drag.
Leatherface,
It's just like
Mrs.
that
Doubtfire.
one shot of her, and then
She's
never
back.
mentioned again.
They had her
Yeah.
for 5 minutes. And that's it.
she died after that scene. I'm guessing
started-
it was like somebody's mom or like the director's mom or something or
Whoever
grandma.
owned the
I don't
house they
know.
filmed in.
Yeah, that might be.
Oh, yeah, the owners of the house.
They did say that they had like access to like 4 different houses, and it was right after the hurricane, so they were like desperate, and they were like letting them do whatever they wanted in these houses. So every single house is authentic to the people who live in Biloxi.
Felt very
I
authentic.
can see that. Yeah.
Felt
Yeah.
very
It's
authentic.
one thing the movie had going for it.
I think there was maybe a couple of parts where they did some set design, but I feel like for the most part, they just kind of came into these houses, lit them, and then shot.
I mean, lit them. Yeah, they just pretty much shot. Turn
I
on
think
the
that's
light.
why the color grading is so atrocious in these movies, because they
Yeah.
don't. If they're filming them so fast, they don't
Yeah.
have time to adjust for like the daylight and the lighting and all that shit. They're just filming and then they just wash it all over with a single piss filter to make it look coherent.
Careful, that's too close to the Mexico filter. Pissing it up. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah. JP says he's hungry, so Mikey makes his little brother a TV dinner while going hungry himself. Reminded me of that. God damn it. Reminded me of that Disney cartoon where Mickey Mouse cuts a bean and a slice of. Reminded me of that Disney cartoon where Mickey Mouse cuts a bean and slices a piece of bread paper thin so he, Donald Duck, and Goofy don't starve to death.
God, I just totally forgot about that one. So now flooding back.
On a different day, Mikey comes home from school and is horrified to see someone has spilled raspberry jam all over the walls of their home. Oh, wait, no. The fat guy in coveralls and his wife beater have done so. And the fat guy. God. Oh, and the fat guy in coveralls of white beater has done the unemployment office a huge favor and blowed his head off with a shotgun. There's no sign of what happened to Leatherface, though. She probably just died of a massive heart attack, if I'm being honest. She
Shot her first and then
shot her
I
first.
murder-suicide.
thought maybe that's what happened, was like he shot her before he shot himself, or
And then
Or she Kurt
two
Cobain.
kids go into foster care. And it explains everything for us, why everything's so fucked up for him.
they just kind
Right.
of end up living in this house. Because this is, if you pay attention later on, this is where Mikey lives. He still lives in that same house.
Yeah.
So I guess they just took care of themselves after this. Not so cool fact. Originally, the story was they were going to have the uncle be a child molester.
Oh my God.
And they were thankfully told not, that's too far. That's like
Yeah.
too far.
Yeah.
But the uncle
my
was going to
God.
be touching Mikey, and that's
my
why
God.
Mikey's so messed up.
Oh my God.
And then
But
JP
thankfully
protected him
for
from
all of
it.
us, they cut that out of the film.
Oh
What's
my
that?
God. I'm guessing any protected JP from him or something.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. There's also in the original script, and they actually shot it, Mikey kills himself to protect JP because he knew that JP was going to be killed by Eddie no matter what. So he just took himself out of the equation so that JP
All right.
wouldn't get hurt, which I guess explains why JP shows up by himself. And why it looks like they shot Mikey's parts in a completely different location because they did.
Yeah. I wondered. I thought it was just a scheduling thing because I didn't realize they shot it so quick and had everybody there. So I thought
I think
had
they
scheduled
did
around.
dailies, and the studio was like, "This is no, you can't do that. You can't just have him shoot himself in the head."
Yeah, then what's the
That
point
would've been
of
a better
this
ending.
whole
I like
thing?
that.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been.
Would've
It would
added
have ended the
message.
movie like 20 minutes earlier.
Would have made
Yeah.
a little bit more sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Because then you have one, spoilers, one brother who kills the other brother, and then the mirror is the two brothers that actually care about each other. One kills himself to save the other brother.
Yeah,
But we wouldn't have got those 6 sweet Matrix shots.
that's true.
He hides the scene from JP and sends him to the arcade with a ton of quarters while he deals with the mess. Next scene, we see him eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Hey, man. That's when you go, you don't have much in the pantry. You got to eat.
I mean, you're not going to let it go to waste.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the walls.
Yeah.
It's going to dry. It's not going to be any good anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't have dinner the night before, so.
Yeah, he's hungry.
It's true. That's why he sent JP off. He's like, oh, I got to take advantage of this. It did look like it was just chunks of preserves going down the wall.
I bet you that's what they use.
Did not look like brain matter.
No, not even a little. At the arcade, JP is having the time of his life playing Duck Hunt or something. Mikey arrives, and instead of joining his brother, he makes his way to Dexter's Kill Room, which seems to be in the back of a strip club that is attached to the arcade as well.
Yeah, it's like they went on the same hallways that are in Willy's Wonderland, too. That's all I could think of every time they shot in that nondescript hallway covered in plastic.
He opens the door to see Crocodile.
It's fapping in the corner.
Just fapping in the corner.
Watching Eddie.
Mama.
This apparently, this tells you anything about the South. That strip club was right behind the arcade. 2 locations. That's a real strip club, and that's a real arcade. And they are attached to each other.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Oh, man.
That's too perfect. And that does, I mean, what?
We
Yeah,
gotta protect kids from drag shows.
Exactly.
We see walls covered in plastic, and for some reason there are speakers attached to the walls playing gospel music. Suddenly, this is how you know it's Sunday. It's still gotta go to church. Suddenly, a character that has been dead for 24 years at the time of making this film shows up. Yeah, just gloss over that. That's right. Eddie King from Deadfall is in this movie for some reason. We see him giving some guy a hi fucking yeah with a baseball bat. He sports the same bad wig and mustache from Deadfall, but sadly has decidedly less personality. His quirky mannerisms or whatever else was interesting about him whatsoever just don't exist in this movie.
Gone. Yeah. He only has that like one moment of being real Eddie King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder if now that we know that the director didn't know what the fuck happened, didn't know what Deadfall was, I wonder if he tried to do more and the guy was like, stop being so weird. Just do
yeah.
probably
Exactly.
down.
Probably.
And Nick Cage just didn't bother to tell him what he was doing.
Yeah.
I think that he and Chris Coppola had this idea of like, let's put a bookend on that chapter in our lives. And let's just, this shitty little movie they're making that they're paying me scale for or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Eddie King back out from the dead and you and I can have some screen time together.
Yeah, it was probably an inside joke between the two of them. They're just not going to say anything.
Yeah,
They're just going to play Eddie and Eddie's brother.
100%. He and a couple bald henchmen beat up a guy strapped to a chair for a bit while Mikey watches from around a corner. And I guess JP watches Mikey from a different corner.
And then Crocodile watches from the third corner.
Crocodile watches from the overhang.
It was like, why was it necessary for JP to be watching Mikey in that?
I don't know.
It was like Mikey watching Eddie. JP watching Mikey.
Yeah, I get Mikey watching Eddie because he's going there looking for him, but then I don't understand why JP has to watch Mikey because he later tells him he's working for Eddie. So I don't understand why they needed to have that. It was just stupid, just dumb. Eddie makes the guy bite down on his pipe, which is way less sexy than you'd think. And rather than ask, "Who sent you, baby girl?" he blows cigarette smoke into the pipe and then hits the dude with a bat in agonizing slow-mo. You better get used to that. Which presumably kills the guy, I guess, is what we're supposed to take from that.
I mean, I don't see how you live through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely not eating any solid food after that. Eddie spots Mikey in the
Not
hall.
sucking on any pipes after that. That's for sure.
That's the last pipe he sucked on. Eddie spots Mikey in the hall, who books it, but Eddie cuts him off before he can get away. Eddie asks what he saw, and when Mikey says nothing, Eddie says the guy whose head he just Aaron judged a pipe through didn't stay quiet, so he'd better keep his mouth shut about whatever he saw.
And that's the last we see of Eddie King for about 45 minutes, I feel like.
We cut to a sweaty, gross version of The Sandlot where Mikey roots on his little brother. After the game on the bleachers, Mikey tells JP that he has to go work for Eddie King full time, but he wants JP to keep his nose clean and to stay away from the arcade. Then he gives his little brother a job mowing grass. We cut 2 years later and find out JP grew up to be Forrest Gump. Mikey always said life was like a box of chocolates. We see a caption that thank God tells us it's 23 years later, and JP is now a successful owner of a construction company. He tells the guy who works for him to hug it out, bitch, and apply himself.
It's the only Entourage reference I can really make because I never watched Entourage. I just know that hug it out, bitch. But I think that was Arnie or what's his name from The Family Man?
Yeah.
Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, his character's thing. Yeah, I didn't watch that show either. All I know is that
neither did I.
That Ariana Grande was Aquaman or some shit in that show.
Yeah.
JP's partner, Rob, shows up and tells him they're behind on a job just because some of the guys have been texting. Goddamn texters. Not doing construction stuff. Come on.
Oh, man. But they work so hard at construction jobs.
We're 3 days behind because guys have been texting.
They've been texting. That's a lot of texting. JP tells
Spending
him
too much time at the arcade strip club and not enough time on the job site.
JP tells him to act like a boss and to throw their phones on the ground like a boss. And then everything goes in slow motion again. JP heads to the same baseball field we saw from 23 years earlier, / the last scene, to meet up with the now old meathead version of his brother. JP says he's ready to beat his ass. And then he just throws the ball to his brother very poorly, who apparently has been standing at home plate with a bat waiting for him for like hours, it seemed like.
So like their game is to, like, he pitches to his brother,
Right.
but the idea is like it's referenced a few times of like they play this game where he's actually trying to strike him out or something, I don't know, and his brother like always is the batter and he's always the pitcher.
I think it's a metaphor.
That's what I was saying.
I think this goes back to the whole child molestation thing they cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws poorly. Like not even, like they couldn't even do him justice of like cutting to make it look like he's throwing really well.
I guess Adrian Grenier was really worried that he was going to look like a doofus throwing the ball, and he was right. He was right to be worried about that.
Mikey hits the ball out of the park and says, "Slamma jamma, ding dong, baby." You know, as you do.
Channeling Eddie King.
Yeah. It would sound way better coming out of Eddie King's
something
mouth.
Eddie King would say.
That's what he should have said when he's bashing that guy's teeth in. They down a couple beers and JP offers his brother a job, saying that he knows it's been tough since Mikey got out of jail, but Mikey turns him down out of pride and bails after one sip of his beer. We see Mikey in a rusted out pickup with a gun by his side. He heads to a pawn shop where the guy behind the counter sports an arsenal, get it? Like the movie, of weapons. I bet those will come into play later in the film. Oh wait, no, they don't.
It's just another verisimilitude of small town America.
Yeah, pawn shops. Full of
pawn
guns.
shop.
Every pawn shop, yeah.
Yeah, hundreds of guns.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey does his best to sell a flash grenade, but is insulted when the guy offers him $600 for it. He tells the guy to take his $600, buy a gold dildo, and stick it up his ass and leaves. Since he didn't sell it, I bet he uses that flash grenade in the final fight with Eddie King after he unleashes his arsenal. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't. Not at all.
Yep.
At JP's, we see he has a nice life with a wife and a kid in suburbia, but he seems upset when he can't quiet his baby girl.
Pretty sure it's a boy.
They apparently had 30 minutes with that baby, by the way. Every scene where you see that baby was shot within 30 minutes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for child labor laws and stuff.
To shoot in 13 days.
Yeah.
Well, he either quiets his baby daughter or baby boy. We don't know. Because we weren't paying attention, unlike Nigel. Then we cut to Mikey loading a gun in his house. He puts the gun to his head and prepares to join his uncle wife beater. God damn it. And prepares to join his uncle wife beater. But before he can coat his walls with raspberry jam, we cut away.
Is it on the same couch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same couch.
It is actually. Mm-hmm. Also,
lit nicer.
Why'd they keep the couch?
I mean, you're not going to throw it. It's a good couch. Just rug doctor it.
Those things stay in the families for generations.
Just rug doctor it.
Also, we see that Mikey is still living in the house where their uncle blew his brains out for some reason. In the movie reality, I'm assuming he inherited it, but in real reality, I'm guessing they just didn't have the budget for another location. Yep. We see JP loading a cooler into his truck, but he's interrupted by John Cusack in a do-rag and a pair of aviators. Wait, John Cusack was in this? Why? Cusack's character Sal says he can't join in on whatever activities they had planned for the day since he fucked up his wrist, which I guess a circle jerk has ruined.
They never say what they're gonna do. Like I think it was implied that it had something to do with the baseball game, but the baseball game is like at night, and this was like in the morning.
In the morning, and why does your wrist being messed up stop you from going to a baseball game?
Exactly. I fucked up my wrist. Just say something, John. You'll pull up and you'll just make an excuse to leave. Just make something not be in the next scene.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. It's really like he didn't want to do it anymore. It's just like it was him telling the film crew that he fucked his wrist up and didn't want to film anymore that day.
I don't want to film.
I can't film anymore.
This movie sucks. Just give me my paycheck.
Sal, who I guess is some sort of plainclothes officer who wears all black and has eyeliner on in every scene, tells JP that Mikey bought a package of drugs, alluding that he intends to sell it. Sal says he's not going to bust him, but he wants JP to confront him before he gets himself killed. We cut to the brothers at a minor league baseball game where we find out Mikey didn't end up killing himself, but he gets into a fight 5 seconds after arriving with some dude in the stands. He punches the guy in the face, and after he insults JP's wife, who I guess wasn't available to be on set that day.
Yeah,
he like says something to her, but we never show her.
You never see her. Yeah. At Mikey's, he's woken up by someone breaking into his house. We see him head to the bedroom where he pulls a hatchet out of the closet. Then he sneaks up on the guy in the living room and says, "You want to fuck? We fuck now." You know, stuff he learned from Eddie. And cuts the dude on the arm. They fight for a bit, and eventually another guy comes in with a gun demanding to know where Mikey hid the coke.
Doesn't Mikey have guns?
Yeah.
Like, why does he go after this guy with an axe?
I don't know. So that character can get the jump on him, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all I can think
only reason,
in the scene. Like, we just saw him at the pawn shop, and I think he talked about how he has guns and stuff to sell.
We just saw him almost shoot himself on his couch.
Oh, yeah.
With a gun.
But it decides to go after the guy with a hatchet.
Be stealth, I guess.
Be stealth. Mikey says the coke is in the fridge, which the guy thinks is a joke. So they bash him in the face, but it turns out the cocaine is actually in the fridge.
Sounds like something out of The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Some money, Lebowski.
Obviously, you're not a coke guy.
Yeah, obviously you're not a coke guy. Not much of a coke guy.
Hey, Woo, I think we got the wrong guy here. Isn't this guy supposed to be into coke?
I mean, he does throw the guy's head in the toilet later. So.
He does.
Yeah, he does. They take the drugs and leave, but Mikey recognizes the car they're driving. Because, of course, you know.
Everybody
Small
knows
town.
everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. It's the South. Yeah. It's the South. He heads straight to their place and bashes one of the dudes with a baseball bat before Lebowskiing the guy's head in a toilet.
I had a quick fact about that guy. He was actually an Olympic swimmer.
Ironic.
Guess they just hired a guy who could hold his breath for a long time
guess.
to dunk in the toilet.
Eventually, the guy says some guy named CJ Cloute
Clout
told them to steal the drugs from him so Mikey wouldn't step on his turf, since he's the resident drug dealer, I guess. Okay. Remember that name because his character turns out to be a big part of this story. Oh wait, never mind. He's never mentioned again at all. Neither is the coke.
Yeah.
I mean, the coke is mentioned when John Cusack and
oh, that's right.
Adrian Grenier recap the entire scene for 20 minutes.
That's right.
Later on.
I blacked that out. Over at JP's, we see Mikey's daughter and his ex-wife, who is nice and redneck trashy.
Redneck chic.
She yells at Mikey about giving her child support money while his daughter buries her head in the phone. JP's wife doesn't seem to be a fan of the Jerry Springer episode happening in their living room and asks why Mikey's ex and really Mikey's family in general has to be there for the 4th of July. And JP explains it's the only way Mikey can see his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not a fan, it seems like.
Yeah.
Can you
Apparently, neither are the courts. They don't allow Mikey to have unsupervised meals with his daughter.
Unsupervised, yeah. Who's like 19.
Yeah. He's supposed to be in high 15. School. So
yeah.
Supposed to be.
She's like somebody in her 20s playing
a
16-year-old.
Yeah, she's like 28. JP says they're harmless 2 seconds before Mikey says to his ex,
you know, if I could get away with killing you, I would.
That's lovely, honey.
Kind of reminds me a lot of my childhood. The memories.
Stuff my dad used to say to my mom.
It's just like every 4th of July I had as a kid.
Then we hear a fire detector going off, and JP's wife grabs a pot off the stove with her bare hands. By the way, that pot has nothing in it. I'm sure you guys saw that. And there's no smoke.
Nope.
And the oven isn't
boil
even
a pot
on.
of water or something to have some steam to make it look like.
Didn't have the budget.
Nope.
Water's expensive, man.
Water's expensive. Smoke's expensive.
Whoever owned the house was like, there's no fucking way you're using any of my appliances to do anything.
Outside, Mikey has a talk with his daughter about school and such before asking her to come stay with him for a while, like 10 seconds after calling her mom a whore. She can't, though, because she's really busy. Those TikToks just aren't going to make themselves. And boy, do we fucking know that, mainly Patrick. We cut to a fireworks celebration at the baseball stadium they were at earlier, then back to the family in the backyard. So I guess we're supposed to infer that they went to that celebration or something.
They had the fireworks shots from the baseball game, and they were going to use them no matter what.
Yeah.
True.
They said they had 2 days at that baseball stadium. One was just them filming the game. And then the second one was they had them and a bunch of extras for the in-crowd scenes where it was empty. But I assume because you see them have like a walk-off victory in the game, and I think those fireworks were because of the team winning the game. But they filmed them and were like, let's set this at 4th of July.
Right.
Why else would they be having a barbecue and hanging out together?
And those the fireworks that are in the backyard are CG.
They looked fake.
I love that they have Mikey and JP meet each other like in the hallway at the baseball stadium, like two people could just find each other. Like,
Oh yeah, in a crowded stadium.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, you made it!" Like, who meets in the corridor, surrounded by everybody walking into the game?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Couldn't have been in a
minor league
parking lot or
baseball.
something.
You saw the crowd. There's not very many people there.
Yes.
There is in the close-ups,
Yeah.
not in the real
not
shot.
in the real shots. Yeah,
There's
Still
like
probably
hardly
the most
anybody.
expensive scene that
true.
they had to make because they had to have all those extras.
yeah. Well, the argument continues between Mikey and Trailer Trash, but JP diffuses the situation by recalling a story about seeing a crazy homeless guy preaching on a street corner when he was about 5 years old. He said the preacher kept saying stuff like, "He loves you. He'd do anything for you. He'd die for you," etc. You know, all that bullshit. And JP asked the guy how he knew his brother, which shocks Mikey, since in reality, he seems like an absolute pile of shit of a human being.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Like, JP not remember when Mikey slapped the shit out of him for asking for some quarters?
And clearly he was talking
Doesn't
about
seem
Mad
like the
Dog.
brother
He's
who
a
would
good
die
man.
for you. Yeah.
He
Good man.
kept him from seeing a head being blown off.
Kind of.
So he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
After dinner, JP confronts Mikey about the drugs Sal told him about, and it turns out he bought the drugs with money JP gave him. Mikey says he needs money so he tried to take his $10,000 and turn it into $20,000, but he lost it all. Mikey says he's a fuck up of a man and a father, and says he's not perfect like Mr. Entourage over here. Mikey says JP has a perfect business, perfect wife, perfect life, and says he'll never ask for money again, and leaves to go fuck his life up some more. Now, I know what you're thinking. I stand Act 1, and we've only seen Nick Cage in one scene. What is all this family drama bullshit? Well, it's clearly an homage to Deadfall. 1, because Nick Cage was only in 2 acts of that movie, and 2, the movie is terrible. So that's another homage.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
Here we go. You guys ready to recap everything we've already seen?
Hell
Here
yeah.
we go. We cut to a seedy bar where Mikey bumps into a man who literally hasn't aged a day in 23 years. It's almost like it was just later in the day of that shoot. We see Eddie and his goons having drinks, and unfortunately, there are no strippers around to make Eddie suck on a beer bottle like a baby desperate for milk. Mommy. And there's no black guy in a vest to throw him out. Would have been better if he just got thrown out of the movie. He invites Mikey to take a seat and says that somehow Mikey still owes him some money for a job he didn't come through on years earlier. He lists off all the things he's done for Mikey, including getting him laid at 14, which must have been traumatic. I mean, that mustache looks scratchy. Plus, we've seen what it looks like when Eddie humps a bed. He's not a gentle lover. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Eddie snorts some coke, as you know, that's all he does. It's his whole character. And he asks about JP. He says he read something about him in the paper, I guess. It says, "Look at Mr. Entrepreneur," all of a sudden. Then he says Mikey was practically a father to JP, and JP hasn't done shit for him, from his perspective anyway. I love that he actually says that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a line some like beginning scriptwriter kid would write.
Yeah.
High school scriptwriter. From my
Tell,
perspective,
don't show.
anyway. Yeah, exactly. Eddie says he knows a way Mikey and he can both get what they deserve. He and Mikey together, 6 figures each, which piques Mikey's interests. There's supposed to be a misdirect here that like Mikey might be in on it, but I didn't feel it at all.
No.
And even the director was asking Jonathan Schaech whether or not his wife, when she watched it, thought that the misdirect was like well done, and he was kind of like, I don't know.
He's like, she never watched it, so I can't tell you.
Yeah. She said,
Apparently
"Stop
she
talking
was
about work with
forced.
me."
to go to the premiere of this.
Oh God, they're still
At
married.
least she probably got to meet Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah,
Nope.
touche.
I really doubt that John Cusack or Nick Cage were at that.
Yeah, true.
At least she got to meet the guy from Entourage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Is that? She knows the guy from That Thing You Do, you know? Like the only thing I've ever seen him in. We cut to JP where he gets a call from Megatron.
Hello.
JP Lindell.
Yep.
Who tells him he has 4 days to deliver $350,000 in cash or his brother dies. Then the phone cuts out and we hear that Decepticon noise. You know the one. Whatever that is. JP thinks it's a joke at first, but quickly realizes it's not. So he runs out of the house and heads to Mikey's house, where he gets no answer when he knocks. He calls Vicky, Mikey's redneck PBRX, to see if she's heard from him. Then over to do-rag sporting John Cusack's house. Sal, John Cusack, tells him to just wait it out. And Mikey will probably just show up from a bender and wonders if it was actually Mikey on the phone fucking with him.
Yep.
I'm glad everyone is worried about this guy they think so highly of.
Mm-hmm.
None of them have brothers.
Clearly, it was Jigsaw on the phone.
Jigsaw would have been a better movie.
Play a game. JP heads to his construction office where he asks his partner, Rob, how much money he can get his hands on in a few days, to which Rob says like 10 grand rather than 350,000.
Only if those guys weren't texting so much.
Exactly. This business has gone to hell. He tells Rob to start liquidating everything. Take out loans, etc., to get the money together, and he just kind of agrees to do it, even though it'll surely ruin the business, their lives, probably have to put up their houses, just going to ruin every bit of their lives. So, you know, whatever. But Mikey's worth it. It's Mikey.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm sure JP's business partner really cares.
I know.
He should have just told him Mikey was in danger, and the guy would have cut him a check from his own life
He's
savings.
like, nah, fuck that. Fuck that guy.
I mean, that guy punched me in the face 5 minutes after I met him, so. Then he tried to sell me Coke. Then he showed me his flash grenade.
Yeah.
He showed you his dick? No, he had a real flash
Oh,
grenade.
like a real flash
Oh,
grenade.
like a real one. It was impressive.
That flash, they said that the flash grenade was worth like $6,000 or some shit.
Yeah. Right.
Which I guess that was a real flash grenade, by the way, that they just happened to have had. The guys who were working on the show never fucking comes up again. I mean, it comes up again here in a second, but then it's never used because that would have cost money. So.
Yeah. No, it's there. It's in the case. It's what explodes at the end.
Oh,
It was Chekhov's flashbang.
How do you think about
See,
that?
you just put it was a bomb, but it's actually the flashbang.
There, okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. That takes care of one of my couple of questions. Next, we see Sal and JP by an overpass, where Sal tells JP to talk to a Travis Bickle-looking undercover cop who has connections in the underground. We recap the whole buying drugs, getting it stolen crap from the first act, and they tell the cop about some guy named Rusty. So he says he'll go check it out. Oh, I know that ginger bitch.
Because we really need another character.
He's got a special
Useless character.
I'm guessing that Rusty was the other guy who was stealing the coke, who like had the mask on. I don't know. I don't care. Back at Mikey's, Sal and JP find the crate he kept the axe in, while a crackhead breaks into the house. Ryder really has a high opinion of Biloxi.
That was unscripted. That was an actual crackhead breaking into the house.
Sal
I feel
tells
like it was
JP
like they just like shit. We need to have some action here.
Yeah.
Just go
Why?
grab somebody walking by and ask if they want to be in the movie for 5 minutes.
Crack? Yeah, I'll
Ask
be in
some
there
random
for
guy
crack.
to come be a crackhead.
Can you guys buy me some crack?
I was kind of come here to steal crack, so this might work out.
Usually this house has crack in it. Now it has a film crew. What the hell? Sal tells JP to be careful with the flashbang grenade. And it's revealed that Sal gave it to him so that Mikey could sell it.
Wasn't Sal worried about Mikey stealing coke and selling that and like trying to turn his life around, like worried about him going down a dark path, but he's the one stealing shit?
Maybe he was like, I have this thing and I'm not going to do anything with it. Maybe you can sell it because obviously you
need the money.
Fucking loser who's never going to make anything of your life. They hear the crackhead in the other room, and JP gets the jump on Jesus Meth Christ. Pins him down on a coffee table, and Sal pulls a gun on him. JP interrogates sweaty McColdsore and finds out he only broke in to steal food. So that whole scene was completely pointless. No reason for him to be there whatsoever. It's just to add tension. Mm-hmm. And I guess Mikey's place is just a revolving door for the people of this charming neighborhood.
Yeah.
Come right in.
It's like, I don't know, just drag the movie out while we're watching these guys piece together everything we've already seen.
Yeah.
Just add some action into it.
They had no second act, so they, like Patrick said, they just rehashed the first act.
Yeah.
It literally is just 30 minutes of them rehashing 15 minutes of the first act.
Yep.
Sal tells Junkie Jesus to leave and says whoever kidnapped Mikey isn't going to come back to the house looking for him. There's just so little substance to this movie. Like, nothing much really happens. 70% of the scenes just seem to be to pad out the runtime. I mean, there's like nothing going on. Back home, JP gets a letter in his mailbox with a Polaroid of his brother beat up in a chair with the words 3 days written on it. He gets a call from Do-Rag Cusack, who says the undercover cop they talked to found Rusty and is convinced that he's not involved in the kidnapping. JP's not convinced, so let's get you convinced. Like, God damn it. Could have just left it at that.
Yeah, now we got to watch him. Go talk to him.
JP and Sal go talk to him, and for some reason, he recognizes JP and books it, the Rusty guy. He like, as soon as he like opens the door, he sees John Cusack, and he's like not concerned, and then he opens the door a little bit more and sees JP, and he's like, oh fuck, and he just runs for it, like, because he stole drugs from Mikey. He recognizes his little brother, like he knows him.
I mean, they look exactly the same, so yeah.
You know, Jonathan Skeet said that they do that. Like, we both look very similar, and I was like, "How? What fucking world do you guys look similar?"
He's like 10 feet taller.
Yeah.
Why does he react that way? Why did he react to JP?
Tension.
Just to shoehorn a fucking chase scene into this fucking drivel. And then again, who cares? JP chases Rusty through some yards, then through some people's houses like Ferris Bueller style, while the camera guy has a seizure for a bit. And eventually they hop into their respective cars. After a thrilling lens flare, seasickness-inducing car chase through the mean streets of Biloxi, Rusty just kind of pulls into a parking spot. That's how the chase ends. He's just like pulls into a parking spot.
Oh, fuck.
JP, then he brings him back to his own house, I guess, because John Cusack's character was still there.
No, because John Cusack was still there.
Yeah, he's still on set with Dana.
Yeah.
Rusty tells them he took the coke, but he had nothing to do with Mikey's kidnapping. Also, he admits to a murder that he did 6 years earlier. But I guess that's way less important than finding Mikey.
Right. Yeah, Sal seems really nonplussed about it.
He's just like, oh, who cares?
We all killed somebody.
I don't care about that. That was 6 years ago, dude.
6 years ago, I was trying to get some alcohol from some guy on a bank of a river, and I just kind of bashed his head in.
What's in the bag? He wasn't my wife got the cancer.
Joe. That was a reference to Joe. I know. I want our audience to have an encyclopedia.
We should throw that in there every time we make a reference.
Just so encyclopedia level knowledge of Nick Cage movies like we do. Rusty also says he saw Mikey at the Biloxi bar, which is the most generic name you could have possibly come up with. But probably is what that bar actually is named, given what we've seen so far in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, what are the odds that Rusty saw Mikey?
It's crazy. It's a good thing they chased him down.
I mean, he was the only person at that bar besides that skank who tried to pick up on him.
Yeah.
And Mike and Eddie's posse, of course.
Yeah.
How convenient that Rusty was there, even though Rusty is like scared of Mikey because he just stole his drugs from him. And JP and Sal head to that bar, and a waitress refuses to ID Mikey for some reason, but rolls on Eddie King, a notorious feared mobster-like figure, just right away. Nope, no worry about that. I guess Mikey, because Mikey's a good guy. She didn't want to roll on him being there.
Right.
Wouldn't she know that JP's his brother, though? Because they look so much alike?
I mean, everybody knows everybody, right?
Yeah.
We cut to Sal and JP chatting with the undercover cop again, and he says he doesn't think Eddie had anything to do with the kidnapping. Like we said, it's like watching Adrian Grenier and John Cusack retell the first act of the movie in real time, but somehow even more boring the second time around. I mean, I just don't think they had a second act.
Nope.
No.
Undercover cop guy says there's no real mob in the swamp. Tell that to that whoa guy from Bad Lieutenant. But
that wasn't a mob.
Eddie,
He was a real. His uncle was what, real estate baron or something.
yeah,
Contract
I mean,
developer.
kind of. He was like the closest thing to the mob, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, I guess.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that guy was Eddie King. His
Oh.
uncle,
His uncle was Eddie King. Yeah.
Interesting. Plot twist.
same age. But he says Eddie King, the guy who was coked out of his mind and boiled like an onion ring by a character so boring they had to throw a guy with a claw into the story to keep it interesting, is the closest thing to the mafia. He says Eddie has ties to New Orleans and New York. Tiebacks to Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah.
At no point did they mention any details whatsoever that would make us think that he was in fact the same character from Deadfall, which was based in LA, aside from the director of the movie saying he is 100% playing the same character when asked on Twitter. So again, I have to ask why? Why is he in this movie? Why would they put this character into this boring crime drama and not actually tie it back to Deadfall? But I guess we know. We know now because the director had no idea that that's what he was doing with this movie.
Yeah.
Never even questioned it.
Can you just imagine, like, this guy's all excited to work. He gets Nick Cage to be in one of the movies that he's directing. And then Nick Cage shows up and acts like this. And he's just like, I can't. I can't tell him to stop acting like a drunk weirdo. Like, it's Nick Cage. He knows what he's doing, I guess, but he's like how disappointed he was.
While he's editing, he's
this
like,
is the performance you get out of
wait
Nick
a
Cage.
minute. He just made a sequel within my movie to a crappy movie that nobody likes in the first place.
If you were a true fan, he would have been like, yeah, I get it.
I want to know what the
More
conversation was like when he found out, like who was it that was watching him?
I think it was the editor.
And was like, this. I didn't know you were making a Deadfall sequel. And he was like, what's Deadfall?
What the fuck is Deadfall?
Peter Fonda?
Peter Fonda was in it?
I forgot he was in that.
Charlie Sheen was in this. What?
Charlie Sheen? What the fuck?
Why have I never heard of this movie? Oh, because it's fucking terrible. Oh,
The tall man?
that's why.
What's going on?
Isn't that Kyle Reese?
Angus Scrim?
Angus Scrim is in this.
I'm pretty sure in 2016 that clip existed on YouTube of Nick Cage freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like
definitely.
70% Eddie King or Eddie from, he didn't have the last name in Deadfall. It was just Eddie. So,
No, he did. He had a last name. They call him Eddie King.
oh, do they?
Yeah, at one point.
I looked it up on IMDb and it was only listed as Eddie.
Really?
In the credits.
I
I wasn't sure.
swear.
I swear that they said
swear
it in
they
the
say
movie,
Eddie
but the
King at
character
some point.
name was just Eddie, I think.
yeah.
But I'm positive that in the movie they say Eddie
right.
King. Because we called him Eddie King
Okay.
In the
when we
film,
were doing
yeah.
Deadfall.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Unless you planted that seed in our head when you talked about Arsenal.
Maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Could be. Somebody do the time and go back and look because we're not going to. Someone do us a favor. Put it in the
I'm not
console.
watching Deadfall again. Just to
I'm
see.
never watching Deadfall ever again.
And we're not watching our review of Deadfall again either.
We're definitely never watching Arsenal ever again. Undercover cop tells eyeliner sporting hoodie and do-rag wearing Sal that he thinks it's a stretch that Eddie King is involved since he's too connected, and this is too risky unless Mikey and Eddie are in cahoots to steal money from JP. Or because Eddie is jealous of JP and Mikey's amazing brotherly bond.
It's
We find out later that's apparently what this all hinges on. Why not? JP says his deadbeat loser brother would never do that. An undercover cop guy asks how the kidnapper knew exactly how much JP was worth. Not a bad point.
Mm-hmm.
Sal tells JP the cops aren't going to help track down his fuck up of her brother and essentially tells JP they're going to have to take the law in their own hands. Seems like a really good cop. Just give some guy some fucking flash grenade.
Doesn't arrest the guy who bought coke.
Doesn't arrest the guy who admitted to a
somebody.
murder.
Yeah. taking the law into his own hands.
Yeah. He does tell him not to go after Eddie at the end, but that was just because John Cusack couldn't be bothered to show up to the shoot that day, I guess.
Yeah.
Then he takes him to an arsenal of guns for the final battle. Oh, wait. There is no arsenal. That's right. JP chats with Mikey's ex, and she says she's worried about their daughter and tells him she's been hanging out with some punk kids. Sal then gives JP a picture of the exact kid Mikey's daughter was hanging out with earlier and says he's the best shot of finding Eddie. How? Why? Who is this kid?
Yeah, I don't know.
Up and coming.
How the hell is he related to Eddie King?
He works for him.
How?
They're brothers.
Like,
Eddie
we
takes
never
on
mentioned
kids
it.
to work. Yeah, now they did. They just did.
Yeah, they just did.
Roll with it.
Don't think. Just
I mean,
watch.
for a movie that tells us every single unnecessary detail, they sure glossed over that one. But whatever. We cut to Eddie doing what he does best, snorting coke in a strip club. But I guess they didn't have the budget for strippers.
No, sadly.
No strippers in the background ever. This was an actual operating strip club, and people were actually like at the door trying to get in while they were filming. So they're like, "Why is it closed?" It's like that guy at the mall. Why are you closed?
Yeah, why are you
Where
closed?
are the strippers? Tell us why the strippers are here.
We would like to see strippers.
One of his henchmen tells him that Buddy's here. And I shit you not, Buddy is Christopher fucking Coppola, Nicolas Cage's brother and the director of Deadfall. Again, it's like, I can't believe that was the explanation. Like when I heard that on the commentary, I was like, oh, of course that's the explanation. That's why none of this ties to Deadfall at all. Nick Cage just kind of fucking did whatever he wanted.
So also, like, it had to have been Nick Cage's idea to bring his brother to play Buddy.
It was, yeah.
So he shows up for a day to film. And again, neither one of them even hint to the director that this is a sequel to a movie that they both made in the past.
Yeah. Apparently the director was like, I didn't even know Christopher Coppola could act. And then he showed up and he was like, oh, he can't. All right.
I mean,
I thought you were going to say, I didn't even know it was Christopher Coppola. Nick Cage said he was
I
some
saw
guy to play
Steven
his brother.
Seagal walk in and I thought, what the fuck?
How did we get Steven Seagal back from Russia?
Why is his hair not dripping onto his face? Allegedly.
Anyways, Buddy is Eddie's brother in this reality, and Eddie's not stoked to see him. They really do not look alike at all. Chris Coppola and
I didn't
Nick
even
Cage.
know that was Chris Coppola until I read it a little bit later. So yeah, they don't look at all like each other.
Yeah. Outside, Buddy is waiting in a Cadillac, and when Eddie asks him why he's not in New Orleans, he says,
I'm not feeling too peachy keen being in Biloxi, Mississippi.
he's trying to outdo his brother in the weird as hell delivery department, I guess. Fucking weird.
Runs in the genes.
He's got like 3 lines, and he says them all weird as hell for some reason. He tells Eddie to get in the car while eating a pecan. So he says,
Here, have a pecan.
and they take off into the night. Eddie gets worried, and Buddy reassures him by saying, we gotta be home real soon, mommy. We gotta be home real soon.
Oh my God.
We cut to Mikey's daughter, Alexis, hanging out with that dude who is inexplicably the link to Eddie King. When she refuses to smoke weed with the guy, he throws her up against a wall and slaps her around a bit. You know, that weed to get that reefer madness. But thankfully, JP shows up in the nick of time and slow-mo walks uncomfortably slow into the room. Before beating up the guy a bit and leaving with Alexis. So again, I have to ask, what was that guy's link to Eddie? And like John Cusack says, this is his hang. Like when he hands him the picture, like there's on the backside of the picture, it's like a note of like where he hangs out. But that was literally, it was just like some random motel room that they were hanging out in.
Yeah.
I don't understand the connection between...
I just figured he works for him just like Mikey worked for Eddie when he was a teenager. So just keeping that cycle.
I can see that. Buddy takes Eddie to another Dexter-style kill room where there's gospel music playing on the boombox. It's just a family tradition, I guess. Apparently, the director said that they like started with pop 80s music was originally the direction.
What?
Just would be hilarious. Come in and see him like fucking beating a guy with a bat to "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Say that or the Willy's Wonderland theme song.
It's your birthday and we want you to have fun.
At Willy's Wonderland.
Buddy asks, "Why'd you do this to us, Eddie?" in a horrible delivery. Then says he knows all about the kidnapping, and I guess the crime only a cop wearing eyeliner and a small-time construction guy know about is enough for him to kill his own brother.
Over $350,000 too.
$350,000.
That's my favorite part of this whole thing.
Yeah. That's like
such a small amount of money.
it's like $1 million in the South, dude.
It's so fucking hilarious when later on he's like, well, it's just 200. We'll call it even.
Yeah, I love that too.
Eddie says no one gives a shit about this guy, which is almost true. There's 2 people who care a lot for some reason. So it's not a big deal. And Buddy tells him to turn around and look at the rabbits so he can shoot him. He basically is like, yeah. Eddie says, turn around? What, so you can fuck me first? He again tries to explain the situation and how he's going to get $350,000 in 48 hours time from JP. Then, 53 minutes into this piece of shit, Nick Cage finally goes full Eddie King. He does the thing he did in the fucking hangers scene from Deadfall and says, fuck you. Then, for some reason, Christopher Coppola switches to a Savannah accent for some reason. He says,
Mr. Kuchar, we're finished here.
but before Mr. Kuchar can come into the room, Eddie's goon with the cornrows and the gold teeth shows up and shoots this guy, Christopher Coppola's guy in the head. It's just mob on mob violence, man. Which allows Eddie to get the jump on his brother and say, I'm gonna try to kill my man! Pulled it right from Deadfall. Which, like, originally when I saw this movie, I thought, before hearing that context of what actually happened for them to have this character in this movie, I thought that the writers specifically told him to be Eddie King from Deadfall. And Nick Cage was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But
that's what I thought was the case.
He finally just gave them what they wanted in this scene and did a little bit of Eddie King. But it turns out that he didn't even do Eddie King.
Yeah.
He didn't even like try to do that character.
Well, it's not even that. Like, it turns out it was his idea to be Eddie King, but then not play Eddie King.
Yes.
For some reason.
Play a bland, shitty version of that character.
He didn't even play Eddie King in the flashback, which would have, or the beginning of the movie, which would have been the Eddie King that we saw in Deadfall. So.
And why? Never mind. I don't care. How is Eddie King both in Los Angeles and in Biloxi, Mississippi at the same time?
He faked his own death.
By boiling his
by a
face.
fry machine. Yeah. And then
Getting dumped into a fucking oil refinery.
He just put on a Freddy Krueger mask when he got dipped in the
Hey, at least they kept the continuity of him wearing a terrible wig.
That's true. Yeah. He beats his brother to death in ultra slow-mo with blood flying everywhere. Raspberry jam just coating the walls and the boombox. It's neat and stupid as hell at the same time.
Just like monkey claw hands thing he's doing.
Yeah. Apparently that all came from Cage. So we can blame everything that Eddie King does directly on Nicolas Cage. You know, we've said it many times. Like, he swings for the fences every time out. Sometimes he hits home run. A lot of times he strikes out. He's always swinging as hard as he can.
Yeah.
So this is one of those instances where he struck out. We see Mikey tied up to a chair, and he has a flashback to the conversation we saw him having earlier with Eddie at the bar, but we actually fill in the details. He tells Eddie that JP is a good person, and there's no amount of money in the world he'd take to fuck over his kid brother. So he says, fuck you, Eddie. And I guess he didn't take kindly to that. So we beat him up and tied him to a chair for the next 4 hours of this movie.
You want to fuck? You want to fuck?
Eddie has a good little freak out and then kind of sobs to himself when Mikey won't come back to work with him.
You owe me! You owe me! I raised you! You got no respect, no appreciation for your roots! I'm trying to bring you with me! It's not too late! You really want to pass this job up? 6 figures, easy money, no risk! Mikey, it's no risk, it's 6 figures. Mikey!
Why would you come work with me? He tells his guys to go get him, and after a fight, they knock him out, throw him in the trunk, and tie him to a chair. The white guy with cornrows and gold teeth says he feels bad since he's known Mikey for a long time, But then he just beats him with a pair of brass knuckles anyway to send a message to JP that he better pay up, I guess. It's another fun scene of super slow-mo punches, blood flying, and adds absolutely nothing to the movie aside from it looks neat. You could say to describe like 85% of the scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
Actually, most of those don't look neat either.
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
All right, you guys ready for the thrilling conclusion? All right, here we go. JP and his partner, his business partner, not Sal, his partner, crunch the numbers and try to raise the $350,000 that Eddie asked for.
That's why he's wearing that eyeliner. It hasn't washed off yet.
That's why his wrist was all fucked up, too. JP says,
wrist, man.
You know why.
You know.
JP says Mikey put the lawnmower in his hand, so I guess that led to him being a rich construction guy, so he owes him everything. Seems like a stretch, but whatever. Like, he got him a summer job as a 12-year-old. He owes him his entire life.
That's how he became rich, man. Mowing those lawns.
He says Mikey didn't have a big brother, so JP has to look after him like Mikey did for him. JP notices something on the computer, which makes Rob nervous. Rob says he needs a few more days, and JP grabs him by the collar and says, "Did you do something with my money?" It's a pretty one-sided partnership. It's more like he's his boss, not really his partner.
Yeah.
Rob explains that he put the company's money into a fixer-upper in Gerttown, which on Google Maps looks like the same neighborhood of New Orleans that Bad Lieutenant found 5 dead bodies in. So how did he, I mean, I guess he brokered a deal to buy a house in less than a day. Like, he just was
I think it was something that he had been doing behind the scenes that he didn't tell the guy who apparently has all the money for this operation.
I didn't talk about this before.
As he says, like, you know, that's like, would that be embezzling or fraud? Stealing from the company? I don't know.
I mean, as long as
he's using it as a business expense. Yeah. He's trying to. He doesn't know that they're doing anything shady, so he just buys a house to fix up, and then they can make money off that.
Yeah, he's trying to flip a house.
JP didn't really tell him. You know, I guess he did tell him we need the money fast. So I don't know why Rob decides to buy a fixer-upper to flip the house in 2 days.
I'm guessing that it was something he had done quite a while earlier.
So he was trying to use it like, I did this.
But like, honestly, how much could a fixer-upper in Katrina-destroyed neighborhood of New Orleans really have cost him? Maybe $50,000?
Yeah. Probably just go to the bank and get a quick loan about that and not even bat an eye.
Not in Biloxi.
You to fix that shit up.
Everybody's got a 500 credit score in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Yeah. Well, he has a company, so he could hopefully use the company as collateral. Anyway, JP loses it, slams Rob against the filing cabinet, and says if he doesn't get the money by tomorrow, Rob's going to go to prison. JP seems like a really poor judge of character and a poorly written character. Yeah, I don't know. Poor Rob. JP's like, give me all this fucking money. And you're going to go to prison if you don't do it. I don't know. We cut to Eddie snorting coke, still covered in blood. Wait, so when is this in relation to the scene that just happened? Because that was set during the daytime. Eddie killed Buddy at night, and now he's with Mikey in the murder room, and he's still covered in blood. And it seems like it's dark out, but it's kind of hard to tell because it's indoors.
Hard to tell.
Eddie says Mikey is lucky since he'll find out tomorrow when they do the exchange for the cash how much his little brother actually loves him. Eddie says he had a brother once and that he was just writing him a letter in the car. Then he decides to read Mikey the letter so he can make suggestions about how to be a good brother.
This was all written by Nick Cage and came up with this on the day.
I believe it.
So,
Well, that explains the reference. In
yes, 100%.
that like literally Nick Cage would understand, and that's it.
Yeah.
Eddie's letter goes like this. Dear buddy, sorry about today, but you were always the creature from the War of the Gargantuas when it came to me. Trying to imitate his delivery.
But you always were the great Jim from War of the Gargantuas when it came to me.
For those who are lost, The War of the Gargantuas is a 1966 Japanese monster movie where two giant hairy humanoid monsters fight in Tokyo. You still lost? You see, the green monster is evil, but they made a clone of it that's brown, but this one is gentle, and eventually they battle each other to death inside of a volcano. You still lost? I can't help you anymore.
That movie is apparently like a cult classic, and like Tarantino loves it.
Of course he does.
And Nick
Of
Cage.
course he does.
It's got giant human feet in it. Allegedly.
Oh my god. Giant kaiju feet. It's Tarantino's wet dream.
It's just another one of 9,000 of those goddamn kaiju movies. So,
You're right. Like, why that one?
well, that one, I guess, is better than the others. And also, like, okay, so he's the good one, the gentle good one.
Yeah.
Eddie is.
Well, yeah.
The guy who fucking bashed a pipe through some guy's skull in the first scene of the movie.
Gently.
Or Eddie thinks that he's the good one and his brother's the
That's what
evil
I'm saying.
one.
It's-
Yeah.
yeah,
But
he's-
Eddie, yeah. Or it was the other way, like Eddie always idolized his brother and always thought he was the good one, even though and he was the monster. I don't know. Because, like, obviously he loves his brother, but he also hates him.
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
mean, I think
This-
as he alludes to in a second here,
This
I
scene
think
is like the only bit of emotional core that the movie has, maybe. But it comes out of nowhere. And you're like, what? This is what we're supposed to care about right now?
came out of nowhere because Nick Cage literally just came up with it out of nowhere and inserted it into someone else's movie. And they were like, sure, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I got paid. I don't care. Move on.
Eddie sobs and screams as he continues to read his letter, revealing that he was busted as a teen and he refused to roll on his brother. He did 3 years in jail while his brother stole his share of robbing cars, I think, moved to Florida and set up a business in New Orleans with Eddie's cut, which I guess he's still a little sore about to this day. Probably because he had to move to Biloxi, Mississippi and set up his shitty operation out of the back of an arcade where his big score is $350,000.
But it's the
slash
memories.
200,000. It's the memories. So his brother moved to Florida, but set up a business in New Orleans. But from a screenwriting standpoint, why not just say he moved to New Orleans rather than just putting that pointless and confusing detail in the same sentence? Like as he's telling him, he moved to Florida and set up business in New Orleans. I don't know.
You moved to Florida.
But I guess it's
Set
not a
up a
screenwriter
business in
that
New
put it.
Orleans.
Nick Cage wrote it. So
Apparently, yeah.
maybe it made sense to him to set up in a different state to avoid the heat.
Well, they don't. You have to
guess.
pay state taxes in Florida.
He also says that he lives in New Orleans now. It's like weird to see you outside of the Big Easy. Like,
Yeah. So Florida has nothing to do with anything.
Florida has nothing to do with anything. just makes it more confusing.
Maybe Nick Cage thinks New Orleans is in Florida, despite having been there to film at least one movie.
Or Eddie.
I was filming in Florida.
Yeah, maybe he thinks Eddie's stupid, doesn't realize that can explain it. He asked Mikey if the letter's any good and if he should send it, but then he says,
Well, I can't send it because they fucking killed him today, all right?
then he says he hates Mikey and JP both because they had each other. I watched the scene again last night so I could remember his delivery and stuff. So the whole movie all of a sudden is jealousy of these two idiot brothers. Like that's the whole plot now. The whole crux of it is that he hates these brothers and always has, even though he talked about earlier he thought of Mikey as a son because he looked after him and raised him or gave him a job or whatever.
Yeah. Guessing in the original screenplay, that's how it went. And then Nick Cage just decided to change things.
Winged it in this scene. Yeah. Maybe he looked at it and was like, this fucking, all right.
This doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to inject some drama into this, some character into this character. Then he finishes his sweaty rant by saying, what am I, a fucking retard, man? And storms off. The next morning.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
What am I, a fucking retard, man? Am I a fucking retard? Oh!
Yeah, like, why isn't that the scene where he adds a little more Eddie King to it? Just go a little more Eddie. He's coming unhinged. That's what makes Eddie the best in Deadfall, when he's like unhinged at the end.
Yeah.
The next morning, I guess, JP meets with Rob, who is now in a neck brace. JP asks if he did that to him, and he says, no, I did it for you. Then he tosses JP a bag of money, which is such good writing. Can't understand how this didn't win any awards.
No, I did it for you.
What was the line that I sent you guys that I just now remembered? It said, are you sure you're doing the right thing? No, I don't. That was two different. That was the line that somebody says it to JP at some point. I can't remember. I think it's Sal or somebody. Says,
I think Sal, yeah.
Are you sure you're doing the right thing? And JP says, no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like they're cut together. Like they're in this, they're sitting in the same shot, and that's the dialogue that gets used.
13 days.
Yeah, Mikey, whatever the fuck his real human name is, Skeech. He said that all of his close-ups, they had to film on a different day when he's interacting with Nick Cage because they didn't have time to do his coverage. So
maybe that's why they're extreme close-ups.
Yeah.
They're right up against his face most of the time.
So I'm guessing there was a lot of that, probably with John Cusack's stuff. Like he probably wasn't actually in the same room.
You see Mikey try to sweet talk Luca, cornrows gold teeth guy, into telling him if he knows if Eddie is planning to kill both he and JP, even if he gets the money. And Luca sort of confirms it, I guess. Eddie, still covered head to toe in blood, since I'm guessing this was Nick Cage's one day on set and he didn't want to change or clean up, calls JP to tell him where to make the drop. But JP asks to hear Mikey's voice, so Eddie says he'll call him back. Mikey asks God for help getting out of this situation, and suddenly he managed to pull a screw out of his chair so he can cut himself free. Just one shitty cliche after another. You ever try to pull a screw out of a wood chair?
Yeah, you just unscrew it, you know?
Yeah, sure. Not that hard.
Eddie walks in and tells Mikey about a kid who drank Drano and says, burned up his esophagus. Started gagging. Puked up black blood and bits of his stomach. Cool story. It's even cooler with the added sound effects from Nick Cage.
That's my favorite of anything he does.
Gollum hiss at him.
You hear about that little boy in Jackson? Yeah, his genius parents poured Drano in an old soda pop bottle, and the boy found it, drank it. Guess what happened to him? Burned his esophagus. Started gagging. Puked up black blood and bits of his stomach.
He tells Mickey if he says anything stupid on the phone with JP, he'll pour the whole bottle of Drano down his throat. Whatever. I guess that's a Nick Cage-ism that whole thing was. I don't know. Threaten him with
whatever
something.
it is, but I loved it. It's the only Eddie King moment that's really good.
On the phone, Mikey tells JP to just pay Eddie, and when all this is over, they'll go play some video games on him. Eddie calls him a pussy for liking video games, and JP figures out something is wrong since his asshole abusive brother he's desperately trying to save never gave him money to play video games, except this one time when his uncle painted the walls of their house with chunks of his brain. That's what they were trying to go with, right? Like,
yeah,
Mikey was trying to tip off JP that if he tries to show up, something bad's going to happen to him, just like he paid his brother to go play at the arcade while he cleaned up his dead uncle's brains or something. But to me, it was more like he was telling JP that they're at the arcade. Like, that's what I thought. That's where to come find him, because I can't remember how they figure out where Mikey's being held. It just seemed like they
don't. They just come up with it on
like
the
to
spot.
me. That's what I thought he was going with, and then the script says otherwise. It says it's about this other convoluted thing.
And it takes him an hour from now to get to the arcade,
right?
But he just magically knows exactly.
And
where he
Eddie's
is.
so stupid he doesn't realize that that's what he could have been saying. Like, to me, it sounded like he was like, "I'm at the arcade."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, remember that time we went to the arcade as kids?
You're such a pussy for liking video games. Anyway, see you later.
Yeah. Don't try to find me. He tells Sal he thinks something bad is going to happen, like they're going to kill him anyways, and to stay away. What kind of leap in logic did he have to get from let's go play video games on me to his uncle killing himself? That's what we just said. What? Sal says, fucking A, they're going to kill you both. So I guess he agrees and just also figured it out. Like, that didn't cross his mind before. Reminds me of Benjamin Gates solving clues in National Treasure by magically linking things that don't have anything to do with each other and being 100% right about everything all the time. Mikey cuts himself free of the chair with the screw God allowed him to pull out, and he runs down the plastic-covered murder hallway. Cornrows guy walks in and is shocked to see him, and they fight for a bit before Luca bashes Mikey upside the head with his gun. Luca calls Eddie to tell him Mikey got loose, but he knocked him out, and it seems fine despite being stabbed over and over again with the long screw. He even says he stabbed me, but he's not covered in blood or stab wounds or anything.
Nope,
He just
nothing. Yeah.
He then ties him back up.
Good.
So it was all utterly pointless. Just back to where we started in that scene.
I mean, I think this was the scene where Mikey was supposed to have killed himself, but the studio was like, that's too dark. Go reshoot it.
All right, so he goes and then
they just tie him back up again.
Yeah, that makes sense. JP gets a call from Eddie who tells him to drop the money off in a briefcase, pick up a phone from a Wendy's bag, and he'll tell him where to go next. So he's making a dead drop.
Yeah.
He says if he thinks the cops are following him, they'll fucking shoot him. JP asks to talk to Mikey one more time, but Eddie refuses. But it was nice of Eddie to finally wash his face and put on some clean clothes, though. Almost like they filmed this stuff first and then do this stuff later. Eddie strangles Cornrow's gold teeth guy for almost letting $350,000 walk out of the door, but Eddie decides to raise the stakes for no good reason. Just because, I guess. He's mad that Mikey had the audacity to try and escape.
Yeah.
So Eddie tells his goons to kidnap Mikey's daughter. Bring her to where Mikey is again tied to a chair, and the Cornrows guys tells him, look what you made me do. Mikey says he's a dead man, and Luca drags her out by her hair.
Never see her again until the last scene.
Cornrows guy shows up at JP's and tells him Eddie King wants to talk, and he reveals that he has his brother. So, what the fuck was the point of disguising his voice and giving JP the runaround with the money when we all had to sit through?
He's got it out of hand, man.
He just goes completely mask off now.
Fucking 10 seconds earlier, it was like, drop the money and pick up a phone and a Wendy's bag.
Right. And then he sends him directly to him to just tell him, hey, it's me. It's Eddie. Eddie has you. Give him the money. Or Eddie has his brother. 13 days.
Should have just called the movie that. That would have been way higher in the search rankings because numbers come first. Yeah. 13 days. What do you expect? That's what that should have been the
subtitle.
Name.
He says Eddie wants to have lunch with him, and Sal warns him not to kill Eddie in a public place because he'll get life in prison. Sure.
I mean,
but then he tells him not to kill him in anywhere later on.
We cut to Ronnie's barbecue where Eddie is waiting for him. Eddie tells JP he needs to take this opportunity to free his brother, and he owes it to Mikey for making sure that JP stayed on track. So there's that weird thing about like he owes Mikey for his good life that he built for himself by not being a fuck up. Eddie says Mikey owes him his life since he made Mikey and Mikey made JP and he begat Enoch and he begat Methuselah and so on and so on. He says since JP is rich, he owes Eddie some sort of tribute since he's somehow inadvertently responsible for JP doing well in his life because he had nothing to do with him.
Put the mower in his hand, dude.
Yeah, well, that was Mikey.
And Mikey worked for Eddie, which took him away from mowing.
Right.
So,
yeah.
There you go.
JP says, you want me to just hand over $350,000? And Eddie says,
200 and we'll call it even.
He's a great negotiator. Look, man, what do you got? Can you buy me lunch at least? I mean, we'll just call it good there. Get me some brisket.
Can we get some burnt ends too?
Then Eddie asks. Then Eddie asks JP if he knows the secret to making a great Bloody Mary. What the hell does this movie even mean at this point? Like, it's supposed to be like you got to add the right ingredients.
Yeah,
just like Eddie is adding the right ingredients to this kidnapping plot on the fly that he's changing constantly.
Yeah.
So he goes to the trouble of kidnapping a girl and then asks for less money. Just whatever you got, man.
200 and he'll call it even.
Can I just have your truck? We'll call it good.
I just really need something to haul stuff with. My brother ran all of that part of the business.
Right. Isn't Eddie going to get killed now by his brother's people? Like,
you would think, but I guess, you kill the head and the rest die.
He just takes over, I guess.
Like a vampire.
Eddie says you got to have the right amount of Worcestershire and the right amount of celery. And then he pulls out some Visine and asks if JP has seen his niece lately. He tells JP,
I hate this movie so much.
He tells JP he better look into where she is, and in the next 30 minutes, is JP and Sal slowly piecing together that she's missing based on a scene we already fucking saw. Oh wait, they already did that with the entire second act. Then Eddie says Alexis is a little trashy for his tastes, a little young. No, actually, she's a good age. Steer clear of that joke. I've said it enough times. He says he'll be back at the Bones Billiards tonight, which I'm guessing is a little nod to Deadfall, which is somehow a better film than this, despite also being utterly terrible.
Also, he's not at a billiards place when they go and meet him later on.
Yeah.
Eddie says to go ask for Luca at the back door, but this ends up being it's like a public strip club. So what's the difference between killing him here and killing him at the fucking barbecue place?
Yeah. Well,
but nobody works at the strip club.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, nobody goes to strip clubs. So they were pounding down the door to get into the actual strip club while they were filming this piece of shit.
Yeah, and they were probably there filming at 9 a.m.
I bet you that strip club made more money that day than this movie made total.
From John Cusack.
Allegedly.
Just from John Cusack. I got a way to spend the money I made for this movie.
That's why his wrist didn't work.
Yeah.
He would do his
Used
shift.
it up the night before.
I want to see that movie. It's just John Cusack actually just finishes the movie and goes to work at the strip club later that night. I got a job as a DJ.
Pays more in this film.
Just wore my outfit from my job as the DJ at the stripper to my movie.
My big vape was a huge hit.
Moonlighting as a DJ at a strip club while filming a piece of trash. Got to pay the bills somehow, man.
Those better off dead residuals aren't cutting it
gross
anymore,
point
man.
blank ones. Checks are drying up. He tells JP to ask for Luca at the back door and to make sure to bring money, and he'll take him to a weird Bond villain with a pair of kitchen shears for an arm. Next, we see Dr. Lime telling him to never cross the line, JP. Never cross the line. Which would have made for a way better film than what's actually coming. JP races home in his truck while the cameraman has another seizure. He confirms that Alexis is missing. Jesus Christ, I was joking. We're actually going to follow him, piece together that Eddie was right about her being abducted, aren't we? We see that Mikey's ex has OD'd on some pills after she was sent Polaroids of her daughter tied up with the caption, "Talk and she dies." Well, so why not add more unnecessary bullshit to this story? I'm surprised they didn't have her OD on PBR. JP
Zonked
carries
out of my mind, JP.
JP carries her to his house rather than like the hospital and forces her to throw up some clam chowder or something. JP grabs the bag of money he was given earlier, and his wife says, "Let's just blow dodge since Eddie will be coming for them next." But again, I think Eddie is probably just going to get killed by Buddy's goons, so they may not have to worry about anything. But
yeah, you would think.
So we're just done with this whole garbled voice money drop part of the film. Did they forget that was happening and they had to wrap up this piece of shit?
Oh yeah,
fuck.
That must have been a realization in the edit. Like, oh fuck, oh yeah, forgot.
Just chalk it up to everybody in the story being an idiot, and it works. JP
and every
says,
actor in the movie just coming up with their own dialogue on the spot.
JP says he's not running since this is their home. Katrina didn't run them out, neither will Eddie King. This movie has just turned into utter nonsense, so we're supposed to now care about this emotional core of them defending their shithole. Sorry. I'm sure parts of Biloxi are great, but yeah, this movie doesn't really paint a great picture.
The stadium and that casino across the street, I think, are the only good parts.
Nice spots, yeah.
Sal tells JP he's out of his mind since he's going to go kill Eddie, and says JP will have to kill at least 3 to 4 guys just to get to Eddie. And JP says, "You're right. Thanks for everything." Script writing.
Doing the right thing? No, I don't know.
I don't.
Are you sure you're doing
I
the
think
right
that's
thing?
where this comes from.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Sure you're doing the right thing? No, I don't. Next, we see JP loading up an arsenal of weapons. No, wait, he just goes back to his office and pulls one gun out of a safe. Arsenal, the movie. We see the first scene of the movie again because it was so amazing the first time around, of JP standing by some docks, cocking his gun out in the open in a place he has no reason to be standing. But hey, it looks great, I guess. Suddenly, a fisherman throws some money at his face and tells him to buy he and his buddy some beer. While Powers Booth narrates for some reason. Yeah, see, some people never had a brother.
That would have been great. Powers Booth back from the dead.
He was still alive in 2017, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, I don't think he died until like 2020 or something.
Mm.
JP
COVID.
heads to the arcade he and his brother frequented as kids and finds his brother completely unguarded in seconds flat in the most obvious place in the world they'd be hiding him. So why didn't he just go there in the first fucking place? Maybe he thought it was too stupid even for Eddie to just keep him at the one place everybody knows Eddie operates out of.
Knows. I've literally seen him doing this in this place.
He unties his... Maybe that's why they changed it so where Eddie wasn't trying, or Mikey wasn't trying to tip JP off about the location of the arcade with that video games reference, because it would have been too stupid. I don't know.
I don't know.
Too convenient. He unties his brother and they both agree the only way to save Alexis and themselves is to go kill Eddie and his goons. Mikey says, "Look, I tried to protect you from all this." And JP responds with,
It's my turn to protect you, big bro.
I don't know what's worse. That line, the delivery, or the fact that they're staring into each other's eyes while they're uncomfortably close to kissing.
Fuck me. Why? Fucking A, dude. Time to protect you, big bro. Fuck you.
Time to start a sex sandwich, big brother. So that's a different weirdo brother relationship.
If that guy showed up, it would have been awesome.
JP, you're my only hope.
Face Off, by the way. It's,
and Con Air earlier with the
Yeah.
What was it, Pollux, Troy, Castor, and Pollux.
Yeah.
Anyway, JP says,
"It's my turn to protect you, big bro."
and then he waves him goodbye with his pinky. JP says, "We're going to kill those motherfuckers," and gives Mikey his gun. As they walk through the hallway of the arcade, which was completely unguarded 5 seconds ago, a guy pops out with a gun, and Mikey suffocates the guy with some of the plastic on the wall and then breaks the guy's neck. Didn't he just give him a gun? Again, what's his aversion to using guns in this movie?
Stealth, bro.
Plus, they don't have the budget.
Yeah, they didn't have the budget for the squibs or the CG blood splatter that they use. They used it all up in the finale. I guess JP...
the guy who, Jonathan Schaech is real method, and he almost actually suffocated that guy, and the director had to tell him to stop. Wow, really was holding on to the guy, and the guy was panicked, freaking out.
Acting in its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. What is this, a James Cameron movie? The Abyss, by the way. Suffocated his actors. Yeah. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
No, not even allegedly.
No, allegedly.
I'm just saying that so James Cameron doesn't sue us.
Yeah. Because he would, allegedly.
I guess JP was just in the can for that scene. Where the hell was that other guy from? Did Mikey and JP leave separately despite just being in the same room with only one way in and out?
Yeah, the nervous shits.
Down a single hallway.
13 days.
We cut to JP delivering the money to Eddie, who is surrounded by a handful of goons. But were we not, he's got his own arsenal in that case. No, it just turns out it was the flashbang in the case. And also JP's money. So why would he blow up all of his own money? If you know that they're going to open the case anyway to check for the money, and you're going to put a bomb in it, why would you put the money in the case?
It was Monopoly money.
He, I guess, had to make sure it was the same weight as the money.
Yeah.
You couldn't just cut up some phone books or something. And... Nope. Put your own money in there.
Yeah.
Put your own real money. Had to make it look believable.
Mm-hmm. The flashbang explodes and JP's kid's inheritance goes flying in a ridiculously slow-mo for the next 5 minutes or so. And then JP stops the guy from shooting him with a shotgun by pulling out a gun and shooting the guy in the head. Wait. So JP wasn't even frisked before meeting with a guy who is basically the closest thing to the mob, who knows this guy hates his guts and obviously has every reason to want him dead, right? Eddie's stupid, so I guess that kind of tracks. Yeah. Also, isn't this a public place like the barbecue joint? What's the difference between killing him at the billiards place and then killing him at the restaurant?
It's indoors, man.
Yeah. I swear it was all the same set. I couldn't even tell the difference of what place was where.
Yeah.
It's definitely a strip club and not a billiards place.
Yeah.
They said that it was at a billiards place.
Yeah, which is probably the same set they used for the Biloxi bar earlier on.
Yeah. Same set they used for the billiards place in Deadfall.
Yeah.
Oh, that was way too high budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Or actual billiards.
And that also
tables.
had a crime lord operating out of the back of it in the black room.
Yep. He likes to lick diamonds for some reason.
It has an espresso machine.
Espresso.
Just give me an espresso machine. We'll call it even.
Always grind the beans, JP.
Never buy pre-ground.
Eddie would just snort espresso grounds.
I feel like we've written a way better movie just on the side. We're talking about this piece of crap.
Oh, all right. Next, JP shoots a guy with the shotgun he just grabbed, which sends the guy flying in more ridiculous slow-mo, which culminates in the guy getting shot in the nuts. Scene guest directed by those kids who did all the effects on Dog Eat Dog. JP cocks a shotgun in stupid slow-mo, then jumps in stupid slow-mo, then Mikey walks into the place in stupid slow-mo and shoots Cornrow's guy. I guess they're just done being friends now at this point. He just straight up kills him.
He said he'd shoot him. Yeah, he said he'd kill
That's
him.
right. You're fucking dead because he shook his daughter. That's right. Then another dude, he shoots another dude in the mouth, which we see in, you guessed it, stupid slow-mo. JP blows Cornrow's guy's head off in slow-mo. Jesus, fuck. Just let this end. It's like they're dragging it out even more when you get to the finale.
Every shot is like 30 seconds long.
Eddie shoots at Mikey at point blank range, but I guess he needed more Visine because he misses with every shot except for one which hits him in the leg somehow, despite aiming at his head. Mikey falls to the ground and magically has time to give his little brother a nod, who gives him a nod back from across the room, and they shoot Eddie in stupid slow-mo. Eddie falls from the shot for the next 12 minutes as blood shoots out of his chest, and then he utters the final words, "You filthy double-crossing little fucking filthy double-crossing filthy fucking goddamn fucking filthy little rat!" Actually, he says, "Hey," and JP shoots him with a shotgun, which I guess has unlimited ammo.
That was his big final line in the
thrilling
movie.
line.
God damn.
We cut to some time in the future.
No,
where
I don't.
Oh, God.
That's the one-liner that he offs him with. No, I don't.
Hey. No, I don't.
Oh my God.
Oh, fuck.
We cut to some time in the future where everything is just fucking hunky-dory and the whole family has a nice barbecue with Sal, who is busy chewing on a toothpick while sporting aviators and a do-rag, wearing all black, like he does in every other scene in this completely phoned in of a mortgage payment of a performance from John Cusack. And they all drink Coronas and have a barbecue in the backyard and talk about family.
Family.
Alexis and her mom, who don't seem to have any PTSD issues from being kidnapped and overdosing on pills, respectively, ask where Mikey is, and JP says, "Yeah, where's that chump?" But he knows where he is. He just didn't show up to the barbecue for some reason, because then JP heads to the baseball field that these quadruple murderers like to hang out at, and he finds Mikey playing with a quarter on the bleachers we saw them at in like 11 other scenes already. Mikey gives JP the quarter and says, "I never told you how proud I am of you."
Big bro. Little bro.
Bro. I guess he feels comfortable finally saying that after all these years, now that he's made his kid brother into a murderer, brought him into the life of crime that he tried to keep JP out of his entire life. Then they play baseball.
JP is pretty comfortable with being a murderer and shooting people. And
yeah. Well, apparently they got away with it.
Been a part of it.
Yeah, they're bad guys, dude.
Dad Sal, he covered it all up.
Yeah, that's it. Forget about it, Jake. It's Biloxi. God, I should have said that. Forget it, JP. It's Biloxi. Then they play baseball while I think a dog humps the camera or something. The end.
Oh, goddamn. What a fucking pile of shit. Oh, fuck. I guess they according to the commentary, the train started coming, and they were like, just go, we'll film it, because they wanted that train running through. And then they got lucky, and JP hit a home run.
Hit the ball.
Yeah, actually hit the ball out. And they were supposed to. This was supposed to happen while the credits were rolling over the top of it, but they, it was so fucking good with that home run.
It's wicked.
They had to leave it in the film while the dog just kept humping the camera there.
It's wicked good.
I could just see like the cinematographer like trying to set the camera up properly while they're trying to film, but like trying to get it in the right shot. While the
Let's
camera's
just
moving.
film. Just film. There's a train. I couldn't possibly wait for another one.
God.
I haven't even put it on a tripod. It's on the ground. What do you want me to do?
Leave it. It's like making
somehow
movies
it's
in your
a fitting
backyard.
final shot for this movie. It
is.
They just wing
utter
it.
garbage. Nonsensical garbage.